Hi, and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show Roll for Damage. We are back at it again at Krispy Kreme. So, on Friday, our heroes, fresh off an encounter with a dragon, made it to Corallin's inner sanctum, having proven themselves worthy to be in his presence. They were able to speak with the god, and Perry received an offer of Coraline's help to help learn to control her natural magical abilities. Invaluable help, which hopefully would not be coming too late. Then it was off to River Ren, where Oriana was immediately arrested for high treason. Yeah, turns out what the party knew about her backstory was perhaps slightly understated. They were all a little bit taken aback by how intense everybody was about the whole thing. The rest of them just barely managed to not get tossed in the dungeon too, and went off to meet Lex, who luckily had a plan. The Shields were able to meet with Cade, Oriana's one-time sort of fiance, who told them about a way that they might be able to secure Oriana's freedom or Oriana's work release program, more or less. And we'll see. We'll see how all that works. And we'll talk with some of the players in just a moment. And then a little bit later, we will be giving new advice for new DMs. Talking all about that. As always, stick around after the stream for links, charities, resources, etc. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Hi, welcome back. Joining me today, we've got two wonderful guests. We've got Laura, who plays Peregrine, who had a very big day. And then we've got Caleel, who plays Baltaine, who had a day.
You know, it was Tuesday.
Yeah, it was Tuesday, Friday, whatever.
It was a day in the week.
Yeah.
We don't know which
a day in the life. So, guys, to quote Lex, what's the damage?
Again, like I said before, jail builds character sometimes, you know? You learn a lot of skills in jail.
Yeah, we were right before we came in, we were speculating as to whether or not Oriana's gonna get some prison tattoos. I hope she will.
Yeah, maybe like a musical note or somewhere, you know?
No,
like a teardrop, like right here?
Yeah.
Like a musical note, like right here instead of a teardrop?
like a quarter note right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't mean she killed someone or something else.
We won't know. She can tell us whatever she wants.
She killed an instrument.
I mean, she told us she just helped her teacher and gave him a musical instrument. Turned out to be high treason.
I mean, technically that was true. You know, it wasn't not true. Lovely.
It was moderately true.
It was in the realm of true.
It was true from a certain perspective.
From a certain point of view.
You know, she would have passed a deception check. Anyway, so guys, Peregrine specifically has completed her quest to go see Coralline. What does that mean to her?
It's sort of like she said, it's sort of every step she's taken has been toward this, whether she knew it or not. From that moment right before we got to Dahana, because I did check my notes just a minute ago to see when the first time she saw that blue spark was, and it was on the road to Dahana. From that moment, something was really different. And this has just been a constant, like, moving forward and growing beyond, literally beyond the forest where she was from. And for her, this is, it sounds cheesy to say, but another huge step in her adventure, especially in her personal journey to grow and learn and be more.
Makes sense. Character development.
Yes, a lot of it.
So Perry was told something that was really heartbreaking when she was speaking to Coraline, which was that if she had been able to study her magic like from childhood, then she would just now be on the verge of being strong enough to help her people with their current issue.
That was a kick to the gut.
Yeah, but she was given the opportunity essentially to learn at Coraline's knee and to get sort of like a fast track, here's how to be a sorcerer.
It's the Cliff Notes version of that book she got.
Sorcerers for Dummies.
Yeah, the Cliff Notes version. And also like she was given other options too. So would you just talk about like the decision-making process for Perry?
I mean, it's always been, and Meta I've always kind of known since like way back before even session 0. When Serenity was like, hey, I have this idea for your character. I promise it won't like neuter her, but would you mind if we did this? I have this really neat idea. And I was like, well, I'm down for anything. I leave gaps in my story for a reason. Like, I don't want to know it all. And so really for Perry, it's been about exploring the side of her that she would never have seen had she never left. She had a choice, and she saw it again at Avonhurst. I can stay and I can do my best to help and be ineffective, or I can be brave enough to try something new, to walk away from everything I've known and take a step forward. And as she's gone along and the more that she's developed it, the more she's realized, if I'm not going to explore this, I might as well have stayed home. And then to get there and to be offered that chance, okay, well, you can take the hard way and you may be too late, or you can take a chance on exploring something you've never explored before and really have an opportunity to save your people before it's too late. And for Perry, it's taking a road that may be harder to deal with. It may be more work. It may be harder on her as a person. But for her, this decision has sort of been making itself as she got to that point. And me personally, because I've been kind of, developing her, I kind of knew going in that this was the decision I was going to make for Perry, because narratively, it's where she's been going all along. And so like flipping through my notes, I can see like little bits like, what the fuck is going on? Do I have innate magic? Sorcerer? ? So for her, it was sort of no, this is what you've been doing. Take the step, be brave, or go home empty-handed. Because she knows there are other options. She knows, oh yeah, okay, well, I guess I could go and punch Thursdune in the face. Me and my ragtag bunch of friends.
Yeah, that's the easy option.
Or I can go hunt somebody down who might be able to help me. Or I can do this myself. And I left so I could do this myself. I'm going to do it. Hell or high water. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, it has been actually like really mechanically interesting. Like the little flare-ups of wild magic have been one of the things that make Perry really interesting to watch, because sometimes just something completely random's going to happen. Everybody's going to have to deal with that. And sometimes people won't be able to breathe, or all of Perry's stuff will get set on fire, or there'll be wings or fur, or who knows, or invisibility. So like after at this point in Perry's journey, like after she's seen her own power, she's like a little bit more understanding of what she can do and where she can go. How does she now feel about her wild magic? Like, is she more confident in her power? Does it still seem scary? Is it like somewhere in the middle now?
It's somewhere in the middle. Like, she is more confident, and she does feel more, not necessarily in control, but able to channel it in a way she hasn't before, because she sort of understands it. Before, it was this scary thing that she knew nothing about, and she would have never been able to ask anybody back home about it. They'd been like, shh, we're not talking about that.
We don't speak about it.
We don't talk about the arcane stuff. We literally don't. Your brother has secret books. But now she feels like, okay, well, now I understand it. Understanding it is the next step to controlling it. And for her, she feels like she's always been a little bit wild. It makes sense that her magic would be a little bit wild too.
Symmetry. Cool. So Baltaim mentioned something that hadn't come up for a bit, I thought, which was the fact that Baltaim in particular would have a difficult time entering the Shadowlands, which I feel like we haven't talked about for a while, because of his heritage as a fallen Aasimar. So it got me wondering, like, how familiar is Baltaim actually about his heritage and like the history of his family? Like, is this stuff that has come up over the course of your quest, or was this stuff you knew before a little bit?
Well, he clearly he knows he's a fallen Aasimar. He's aware his sister is Aasimar as well. And he doesn't like know the lore behind Aasimar, but like he know like they have like a place of like they are of divine blood. He understands like that general understanding of them, but it's not like he doesn't really particularly like cares in sort of sense, you know what I mean? Like he like it's more of like I'm me, who I am, and like what my heritage is doesn't particularly matter because like of how like my family is really like a created family, like of adoptedness and stuff like that. So like he knows a little bit about like Aasimar and like the general sense, but it's not something he's particularly like tried to like learn super about because it's like this is what I am, but it's like I don't really like it's I think it would be like sense of like tieflings, like they know there's some part of the devil like nine hells, but they don't like for most part I don't think most tieflings like, well, which devil am I, like which like you know thing is like, you know, like unless they're like really interested in like trying to figure out where their lineage falls. It is sort of like, oh, I have some sort of demonic blood in my family line. That's cool, I'm who I am, sort of thing.
Yeah, so Baltaim's kind of like, I don't know, 4th or 5th generation Aasimar, so he's used to it.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Although it is coming up a little bit in the plot, so we'll see. I'm actually quite interested to see how Aasimar like fit into the bigger world and how and like if Serenity has anything planned exactly for that race, because she's done quite a bit with obviously celestial stuff and gods, so it's a little bit connected. Why'd you fall?
Yeah.
We'll find out, maybe. Cool beans. So you guys had some fun talking to Coraline, then you called in your favor from that possibly treacherous little goat who helped and who did not help you in return. I would argue you still owed a favor. But you made it to River Run, where where we have eagerly been anticipating you get. And Oriana got arrested like a minute after returning home. That's all very dramatic. It do be like that, apparently. So Baltaim said that you guys were like not aware that Oriana was wanted for treason. I remember you all talked a little bit with Oriana about like what had happened, but like to what degree were your characters aware that there was something wrong? Because I feel like Oriana had warned you a little bit, but I don't think anyone was expecting exactly what happened.
Well, we knew like she was somewhere in the hierarchy of River Inn. Like we knew she wasn't at the top or she wasn't like at the bottom.
Yeah.
She was somewhere in there. Like she was a noble and she had some like arranged marriage with like one of the triumvirate, which is what we would, I'd assume, would give her like put her up in that higher echelon. Maybe I don't know how like marriage works in this, like how that class system works.
We ain't from there.
Yeah, we're not from there, so we don't know what the rules are for that. But we knew she had some involvement in the hierarchy of Riverhead, and she like the way she had like laid it out. She was like talking to someone. She didn't apparently know what like the backstory of that person was, so like she couldn't tell us that. And then she like gave them a instrument by accident, and that led to them breaking out. So I was like, I figured like there's probably some trouble going along with that, seeing how you're a noble and you release someone from prison. So that's not probably a good thing. I don't know. I probably expected her to I thought that could have been a potential plot line where like we should have probably like someone might be like, oh, are you Oriana? Like you're under like people are looking for you, like sort of thing. Maybe like to like a smaller scale, like there might be like a wanted poster, like, oh, yeah, not like, oh, she's number one on the wanted list. Like, hey,
plastered everywhere.
Like, which apparently they were.
If you see this person, call someone or tell someone, like that sort of thing. So it was like the perspective of like what you think is important, what you don't think is important, and what is actually important, type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm trying to remember, because like I write everything down, but I wasn't writing like little personal details down. Like unless it seemed huge, I don't like in the course of like some random RP, like we're sitting around, the watch. I don't write that stuff down because, it's just like friendly conversation. So I don't remember specifically what she said about like why the guy was in prison or anything else. Like Perry knew it was her teacher. So giving him an instrument was probably not smart because, Perry doesn't understand how that magic works, but she does see Oriana use the violin to cast. So like she knew, okay, that was bad. This guy got out, but she didn't know that this guy was a war criminal and that it was that bad. She knew that like going into River Red, we were going to run into some trouble, but she was like, okay, well, she just let some guy who shouldn't be free run free now. And we're going to go in and she's probably going to have to deal with that. But like, then we walk in, ha ha ha. And none of you knew none of you knew she was a war criminal, wanted for treason. And we're all like,
you're like, no.
I was like, Oriana?
Genuinely ignorant here.
Oh my God. Yeah, I thought you guys were going to talk yourselves into jail.
Yeah, Perry was going to be very measured.
It was that point too. Like, I think the way she brought it up, I think at least the ball team, it sounded more so that Cade was the reason she was leaving and not that she left because of being like a teacher. And like,
yeah, no.
From Balte's point of view, oh, he's a teacher. Like, oh, Oriana seems like sort of a above the table sort of girl. So it's like, oh, he's probably like was in there for like a fine or something like that. Like, yeah, it's like county jail.
For drunk driving.
Yeah, for like drunk driving. It's like, oh,
for magic under the influence.
Yeah, it's all right. It'll be fine. It's like the K guy is why she left. That's why.
I'm pretty sure that's part of what Perry thought. Perry was like, okay, well, she was because the way that Oriana always told us about the whole Cade situation was that it was an arranged marriage, that if she didn't leave, she was going to have to marry this guy.
Right.
And like Perry was like down for, well, yeah, no, girl, get the fuck away.
Yeah.
If they're going to make you marry somebody you don't like it, you don't want to be with, well, tell them to fuck off. Turns out none of that was true.
The things we learn about our friends. That was what
Perry thought. Was like, okay, well, we're gonna go in and it's gonna be, oh no,
Oriana's jilted
fiance.
Yeah,
so we gotta like watch out.
Watch out for the higher ups. Stay low and nitty gritty.
I mean, I didn't.
The higher ups. It's like, no, it's not.
I will say that Perry didn't think that the teacher was in jail for magic under the influence or some petty crime. But like she genuinely thought, well, Oriana probably naively let this guy out because she's met Oriana. And she's like, Oriana doesn't think either. She thinks too much or she doesn't think enough. And she's always said, well, I trust people too easily. So Perry is like, okay, well, she probably didn't mean to let this guy out or didn't think he was all that bad. But he was really bad.
I mean, we still don't really know what he did.
Right, really bad in their perspective.
I mean, he did design a bomb that wiped a whole bunch of people out.
Is that what he did?
Advocate for using it.
Oh, okay.
We didn't, but like plotline, we all know based on what happened.
Gotcha.
Like Perry doesn't know that he was that bad, but she assumes war criminal sounds real bad. I mean, we don't have those back home, but it does sound real awful.
That's a heavy word or heavy phrase. Yeah, so speaking of that, how worried were your characters exactly about Oriana? Because treason usually carries a death sentence in every country, really.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's why.
Bye, Oriana. Bye forever.
I think that's honestly why Baltine took the approach he did. Because he heard treason, he was like, oh, this is serious. Like, that's a big thing. Like from where he's from, like he has laws, so he knows like what words in law mean. Obviously, like he knows like being arrested, like he knows like how that system would necessarily work. So he's like, I don't think she's gonna go to jail. He's like, sit in jail, stay calm, let us figure out something on the outside, see what happens. And that's why he was like, and he heard treason, so he's like immediately like, hey, don't do anything stupid, Oriana, because you making this worse makes your thing worse. Like it's already like like for treason, it's already like, oh, we're looking at putting you in jail for the rest of your life at least, and death at the worst. So like, sit down, let us handle this since we're not going to be arrested. Let us talk to someone outside, see if we can get anything and figure it out. And if we have to, we'll do something stupid. Don't you do anything.
Yeah. I mean, like where Perry's from, we don't have a lot of that. I mean, she comes from a relatively isolated little tribe.
Yeah, we don't have war because you don't really have contact with other people.
Yeah, but at the same time, like it's like she told Sin, right? Like we still have laws. Like the Council of Elders is not just a bunch of old people that just get to sit there. Like we select those people, and they're our wisest and most learned and all of that. So like she understands like the rule and like law. Like she knows like you don't kill people, you don't all of that stuff. So like she knew things were bad. She didn't know treason. I mean, she knows what treason is, but she didn't, know, treason equals death. But the minute we get in, they tell her to shut up and then clap her in irons and drag her away. Perry's like, oh shit. This is really, really bad. Please, Oriana, do not run off at the mouth. Do not, she physically winced when Oriana goes, you're making a mistake. And I was like, oh no.
Please no.
Please stop talking. This is not the time for you to try to talk your way out of this. Please don't.
I mean, Oriana to be fair, Oriana has very high charisma. If anyone could talk her way out of it with roles, at least she could, right?
If she rolled well enough. That's the thing, though. Our high charisma characters aren't the ones that get shit done.
But there's talking your way out of like misunderstanding and like talking your way out of treason, which is like, even if you're like misunderstood being treasonous, they're gonna still arrest you and figure out, oh, okay, so you weren't a felon. Like we need to, we'll think about it, we'll figure it out, process it. They still need to we're gonna arrest you, figure this out ourselves, and then we'll come back to you after this, not the other way around.
Yeah, luckily Oriana's a rich mama, so she'll probably be fine. But who knows what kind of political machinations are happening. I wanted to ask that, you guys seemed pretty anti-jailbreak when you were all talking about, what are we going to do? Our friend's in jail. What if Oriana was sentenced to death or life in prison or something equally horrible? Would you jailbreak her?
I mean...
Oh, that's a long hesitation.
Go ahead.
It's rough because as a person who wants, our good friend Jake's character to survive, and whatnot, and also as a person who loves a good heist,
person heist.
it'd be interesting, but at the same time, like, there's a question of, would it make things worse? Is there like another way? Because like Perry's really like, let's stop doing crazy rash shit, because that's what we do and it gets us in trouble. Every time we've had a major problem like that, it's because we've done some shit like jailbreak. So Perry is like, oh no, let's think this through. I'm gonna be the voice of reason here. We can't, go and bust into a highly secured prison, I'm assuming, and get our friend out. But also, like, the idea of, if she's sentenced to death, I think we would try at some point to come up with a way to stop her getting executed. But I don't think it would be a jailbreak. Or at least for Perry, it wouldn't be a jailbreak, because odds of success would be so slim. And it could just lead to all of us dying.
Yeah.
Baltaim would be pro jailbreak. He seems like a jailbreak person. Or
like,
has he been tempered by the past few months?
I mean, kind of. Like
he did make that promise to Avandra.
He was a voice of reason. He was considering other options. He would, if this was like a different, like a smaller town, probably would be on his list of things we could do reasonably to like just go out there like, hey, what about jailbreak, guys? Like, we could probably do it. It might be dangerous.
Probably do it.
Probably do it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be like 2 hours.
Yeah, it'll be a couple hours, but we could do it. We just have to head out after that. But I think knowing just the scale of the city, that is unreasonable even for Baltim's gutsiness and craziness. I think he would plan Z. Yes, that's like, it's on the table. It's like literally the last thing we have to do if we can't do anything else. I think he would probably I think Baltim's been the least favorable for acting like Luxa Turner for any favors at all. He's been like, let's do these favors, get them out of the way so we can stop owing people things. I think that is the one thing he'd be like, all right, this is important. And they know that this is important. They know that we're tasked and we've been marked. This is something that we need everyone working together to stop this thing bigger than us. If we have to break some of the rules, break some of the stipulations, break all the norms for some things, sometimes the ends justify the means. So he probably would have pleaded with Luxa Turner that was the only choice to try to help figure out some sort of prison break or some sort of leveraging their power or our power together.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But luckily, it seems like it probably won't come to that,
Right.
Because you guys did score a meeting with Cade, Oriana's almost fiance, who gave you a quest of sorts, investigating an individual who you'd already met and already thought was shady. Oh, you were right. So how do your characters feel getting like embroiled in political intrigue in this country, which none of you are really familiar with? It is political intrigue. It's happening.
It is. I wouldn't say Baltimore's not unfamiliar with this country. Also.
That's fair.
But
True.
I don't think he doesn't really care. Like he cares in the sense that he cares that like we're involved in now, so now he has to care. But he's like, I don't really care about your politics. I don't really care about your who wants to be court dictator general guy. Like he's like, I don't really care. I think I don't know. I think he's too much of a at face person. Like he likes to say things at face. He likes to listen to people and see if they are taking things to him at face. That this it might be an issue for him. Trying to navigate through it.
Yeah, he's very straightforward.
Yeah. And I think the politics might be. I don't think it's the saddest thing. I think other than Oriana, I think he's the only one that is like aware of like what's like politics type of thing is. I just don't think he has enough like tact and like know-how to like try to navigate through it.
Oh, he definitely doesn't have enough tact. We've seen him just like try to barge into a noble's house in Dahana and just like walk on in.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
I believes all are equal. Noble, random person, he'll barge into all of their houses.
I mean, and that's totally fair. I mean, the thing is, like, this is so far out of Perry's wheelhouse. Like, Perry is terribly nervous because, like, she cares because she believes in fundamental fairness, and she thinks that corruption is bad. That if somebody's doing something that's going to make things bad and unfair or cause problems, then she wants to, solve that problem. But she's in this because Oriana is in jail and she wants to save her friend. But she has no idea what she's doing. And she's both naive and also kind of a like upfront, no filter person who's going to tell you like, she's going to tell you like it is, which is going to be highly problematic. And she has no idea how stuff like this works. None. She is probably one of the most likely to just like walk up and be like, what you're doing is wrong and you should stop it. And also, I know what you're doing.
I see you. I disapprove.
I see.
My name is Peregrine. I am staying at this hotel. This is my room number.
Well, no, she has learned like that sort of thing. Like she's really hesitant to like give away her own name and stuff to people she doesn't know who seem super powerful. But like she is the one that's just like, I see everything. And I am observing you. I want you to know. I can read your lips from over here. I know what you were saying. And that's dangerous.
He's watching you. So I'm going to ask you guys to speculate wildly for a second. Do you think this strangled vine thing might have something to do with that weird cult that you know is operating in Reverie?
No.
No.
I don't. For some reason I feel like no.
I feel like that's a separate thing. I'll be totally wrong.
I feel like, okay, when I say no, I feel like there could be like one or two things that like help involve that, but I don't think it's connected.
Yeah, I don't think they're intertwined. I think like there's probably there might be a connection, but I don't think that they're intertwined and like we're gonna be like solving all of Baltaim stuff with this Undying King thing and the Strangled Vine thing at the same time. I think that they're two separate entities that might share some things.
They use like the same evil convention center.
Yeah. They're on the same Holiday Inn, but like one person left their notebook from the last one. They're like, oh, how did this get here? Like,
yeah, they share caterers and stuff. Yeah. Like they have the same planners, but not the same members.
Yeah.
We'll see. So many intrigues in one city. So it's been a while since I feel like we talked about this cult of the Undying King. Remind us what we know about this and when we found out. Did we find out about this with the brain thing, or is that it's been so long?
Yeah, this is on you, Caleel, because I don't have much of anything.
This was when we were in Zerithmar. No, yeah. The country is Seratan, but the place is Zerithmar. But we were in Zerithmar, and that was the place where they went to the ruins with the undead in it, and that had the like the body parts all exploded and like the brain in the jar thing.
Yeah, it was the brain in the jar. The
note Baltimore found was talking about the attack on Riverin, and that there was something going to happen in Riverin, or they were moving something to Riverin. We don't know if it's an attack. I think we're just assuming it's an attack.
Yeah, we've all assumed they're going to attack her
Right.
at this point.
But there was a note that was left, and there was something not readable. And it was like the quote of the you, and like that's where that whole thing is like come together of the and that's what he's like been piecing by piece making up, like figuring out, and had some, apparently from the last we saw of Dobby, had some connection with Butcher, but we're not super sure since of the Dobby dying situation.
Yeah, it sure is a shame he only shared that information with Baltaim.
Yeah. And no one has the wherewithal to actually see anything else about it because he's the only one who knows about it. So it's like, yeah.
Well, I'm sure it will turn out to be interesting, this attack or item or whatever it is that's shown up in Riverrun. Get some answers. Awesome. And with that, we're going to move on to our topic for today, which is new DMs, brand new DMs, fresh, out of the box DMs, and advice for them. So we're talking about like how to prepare for your first game. I thought this would be a good week to talk about it, since no one here except for Serenity, who's not on camera, is like a super veteran of D&D. None of us have run more than one game. Laura, you are currently prepping your first game ever.
Yeah.
So I thought we should get the perspective of a new DM while we're doing it. So guys, first question. When you were like revving up for your first campaign, or as you were currently revving up for your first campaign, what were some of the things that like you worried the most about? Like what kept you up at night when you were just planning, writing everything down and trying to get all your ducks in order? Is that the right, all your ducks in a row? All your ducks in a row.
I mean, right now it's imposter syndrome. Like, I'm afraid I'm gonna suck. Like, that's literally the fear, is like, well, the other thing is, and I have a problem with comparing myself to other people. Like, I'm in games with some really phenomenal DMs. And so I'm like, I've never done this. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna suck so bad. But I think that's the thing that right now is the most concerning, is like getting it all put together while also dealing with that voice in the back of my head going, you're going to suck so bad. This is going to be the worst. Nobody's going to want to keep playing. First session's going to be balls.
This is stupid and you shouldn't listen to it.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the things it's more so of like, I want everyone to have a good time feeling. Like I want, like, is this going to be boring to people? Is this like too in my head of like, oh, I think this is cool, but like, what other people think this is cool, or people like enjoy it, will they ever feel like the same about it? That sort of feeling, that like anxiety of like, I want to please everyone, but like make sure that everyone's having fun at the same time and like having a good experience. That was one of the things that I was like, oh, I don't like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of why the first thing I'm running is a module. I'm going to run Icewind. I'm going to modify it to, suit my players, and because I can't leave things alone. But like, I'm quietly working on some homebrew that, will maybe someday see the light of day, but it is not going to be my first foray into DMing, because like a lot of this stuff seems really cool to me, but what if nobody enjoys it? Like, what if it's boring or lame or seems too cookie cutter or seems like something everybody else has seen all the time? Like, I really want to make sure that I'm going to create a game that people enjoy, like, because that's what matters to me when I play. I want to create that same experience.
That makes sense. I don't know. I'm trying to like cast my mind back. I had like a little bit of doubt, but honestly, I think I really benefited from not really knowing shit about D&D when I DM'd my first game, because I was supremely confident, despite the fact that I didn't know shit about anything. And the first game that I the first game in the campaign definitely sucked, but luckily it sort of like smoothed out after a while a little bit, and I had a ton of fun. But what you guys think like new DMs can do to like boost their confidence or to just like plan around their anxieties and like get over that hurdle to be like, you know what, I can do this and I'm playing with my friends, so they'll be nice even if I suck.
Alcohol. No, I'm just kidding.
Interesting.
I'm kind of.
I mean,
I think Laura said earlier. Using a module to start and like just tweaking it really is a good confidence booster because it's a storyline that you like is already like pathed out, so you don't have to like work solely on doing that. You can like tweak things where you like it and where you see fit it to be, and like change characters and change ideas. So it's a less daunting approach in like building this whole narrative and this whole character arc for everything, because they already have that naturally in the modules, and it kind of gives you like it gives you something to hold your hand to if you like get a little bit off the wheel, like off the sometimes, and so you can like I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're doing, but you kind of like look at
what does the book say they should be doing right now?
Right, they should be here-ish. And if they're not here, you can go here and then like loop back to here, sort of thing.
It's like, okay, they turned left, werewolf.
Yeah, a lot of modules have like a little bit of openness in them. So they're like, if they're in chapter 3, you could do like I think Waterdeep or something like that, stuff like that. They have like different chapters for different seasons, so you can be like, oh, if they did this, you can do this in a later chapter. So it's a lot of less daunting tasks. So it's like easier for you to grasp a narrative and then change it how you see fit and how you want your story to go and how you want their character arcs to go as well.
So structure to alleviate some of the pressure, essentially.
And alcohol.
Was Caleel, was your first game that you ran a module?
Yes, I ran the Lost Minds module.
Nice. I completely homebrewed my first game. And I don't regret it.
It's not like it's impossible, but it
was very hard though.
Yeah.
I over-prepared that whole thing, to be quite honest. I ended up having to like throw out the last half because I moved, so I couldn't run anymore. I lost half my players halfway through. It was a mess, but everyone said they had fun, so I've chosen to believe them.
Yeah.
Oh, cool beans. Yeah, so actually, let's start with Caleel. What was the process like for like prepping your first game and getting to the time when you're actually around the table playing?
For me, I like to, because I was doing a model too, I think I like to get everyone's character stuff and then like get a little bit of time to like see how I want to work in their character stuff into the story. Like maybe like for like Lost Minds, there's like sometimes there's like faction stuff like for the various factions. So you're like, hey, your character is like already like a rogue and like they do like thievy stuff anyway. Would you like to be part of the Zentarum or something like that? And then like when that comes up in the story, you're like, oh, I know this is something to do with my character, or has some like this faction has something to do with my character. So like that person might know that person, or you might like work for that person. So it's like I like to get the character stuff first, and then like try to like sprinkle in little character story bits and like things in there. And then like sort of plan the ending part of like how I want this to end, and then sort of like work backwards from there.
Neat. Yeah, doing like character backstory stuff is always super fun as a DM, because you do get to like weave it into your narrative, and oftentimes it like changes your narrative in cool, interesting ways. That is communal storytelling. So Laura, like what you're currently working on your campaign, what is the process like?
Well, right now, I'm doing a lot of like reading through the module because I am a type A person and I like to be prepared, and I'm like writing some stuff down, and I'm kind of like making notes of things like, oh no, I see this and I don't like it, and I honestly think that this feels railroady in a way that's unfair. So like I make a note, or I stick a sticky note somewhere and say, okay, well when I get here I need to look at this. In the meantime, like I'm talking to people about like, what do you want to play, what kind of backstory do you have, do you want to be from here, or do you want to be like, do I need to figure out why you're here, and that sort of thing, because it helps me to know, like, because getting started in that first session is what I'm the most nervous about. Because like once the ball gets rolling, like I've been in enough sessions to know that like your players are gonna pull you through, and you're gonna have to follow them anyway. And you can only be so prepared for what they're going to do, because they will do things. Because I do things that throw the DM off. But like getting like a good notion of like where we're gonna start, because I'm doing Icewind, you've got like 10 different towns to start. And you have to pick which town you're going to start in, because that's going to start your quests. So for me, it's easier if I've got like, I know where everybody's going to be, or where they're from, or who they are. And then I'm going to build from there. And then I've got like a couple of little notes of like some tweaks and things I'm going to do to make it easier for characters to interact and that sort of thing. Because one of the hardest things I think is going to be like making sure the party gets together and stays together. Because I know like in things like Strahd, you get dropped in there, and unless your DM knows like why you should stick together, if you people aren't all from Barovia or didn't all come in at the same time, you're gonna want to gravitate away for a minute. And like if you can keep the party together, you can keep the story moving.
It's really hard to keep the party together sometimes. Yeah. So speaking of like that first session, which is nerve-wracking always. Caleel, what was your very first session like? Do you remember?
It was pretty standard, I would probably say, for these terms. It was just a lot. It was just a lot of like kind of the characters trying to feel out what they are, who they are, like how I play, how they play. Sort of like a little bit of the little glitches to see like how like kind of smoothed out away on the line, like when we went further. But it was pretty standard. I don't think there wasn't like any like major like issues or anything like that. There wasn't like thing like astronomical. It was just sort of like that sort of nervousness of like trying to like figure out okay, you're this person, okay, got it. This person's supposed to be here at this moment. Okay, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish I had done that. I made not a mistake exactly, because I think it was a cool beginning actually still, but I made the decision to drop everyone right into the plot right away. Like day one. I also made the possible mistake of introducing 2 very important NPCs in the very first session, and I was nervous because I completely forgot what they both sounded like. Yeah, I practiced their voices and everything, and it was just like, oh well, that's all gone. But yeah, like honestly, I think new DMs should expect to be kind of nervous on in their first session, and also know that like it's not gonna matter really that you're nervous in your first session. Like it will be fine. So when did you guys like make the mental like flip where you were like, you know what, I actually do want to run. Like I don't want to just play anymore. I want to create a world and have people play in it.
Well, for me, it was just like I was tired of like shitty DMs.
You're like, I can do this better.
Yeah, I was like, I can probably do this better. I knew the rules and stuff like that too. So it's like I'm fairly knowledgeable like how the mechanics work. So I was like, okay, that's and like to be honest, that's honestly you don't even need that to be a DM. You don't need to have like a super like mechanical mind to like to DM something. But that's why that's what I had thought of for being a DM. So I was like, you know, I could probably do this better. I could probably figure something out better than what crap I'm playing right now. So I'm gonna do it myself. I'm just gonna see if I can do it myself.
I mean, I think I kind of always had in the back of my mind, at some point I'm gonna DM. Like I don't want to be always the player. And of course, like Chad has always been the DM in our relationship. And I've seen how like part of it is also like I know people who that's all they get to do is they never get to sit and play, and that kind of sucks. And I'm like, I think that if you can try it at least once. I think like everybody should try to DM at least once, because the one thing you will get is understanding of your DM and like what they go through. Like I always try to like remember to tell my DM we've had a good session. Because like I know what it's like to be on the hot seat for other things and to be there the whole time and be the one in charge and have to keep us shitheads on track while we do things like make up dumb nicknames for their hard work. And
I
they're
spent
like
10 hours in this
crafting.
character. I made their backstory and everything. His name's Scrotum.
Exactly.
Like,
Oh
well,
my god.
okay.
Or just like completely by like going around the plot.
Yeah. So like I always figured like at some point I want to do this, and like I've always wanted to. I have this like really detailed homebrew world in the back of my mind, and I've always wanted to put it together. And part of me is like I want to play in this world, but nobody else is going to understand this world the way I do. So if I want this world to be real, I'm going to have to run it. So I should learn to DM.
Nice. Yeah, I don't actually remember when I decided I wanted to DM. I think at one point I was just like, this would be fun, it looks like. And then it was. I was right.
I mean, that's the other thing. Is like, that looks like fun. I'm not one of those people like, I never want to DM. Like, I never want to be the one that has to run the world. That looks boring. No, that looks really fun.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. Like, you know, all the lore, you get to write a bunch of stuff. It takes hours and hours and hours. Hours and hours and hours. Oh, God. I wrote more as a DM than I ever have. I like need to get the chops that I had back then back. Anyway, so do you think it's a good idea for like people who are getting into DMing or want to make that transition to like experiment with like one shots before going into like a longer campaign, or can you just jump in? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably, doing one shots, modules, structured things first would help you just get that, like the timing of things, the like narrativeness of things, how things sort of progress, that sort of thing, that feeling if you've never done before. I mean, and you don't like have any like any like visual things that you've seen before or something like that very much helps like get you like understanding the foundation of how this works, so you can like sort of like break away from that if you want to.
Timing is a big thing, and like the only way to learn that is just to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think not to like downplay doing a module, because that's what I'm going to do, but I think like modules are like sort of a way of having the bumpers up when you're bowling. Like you have something that's going to keep you on track, so you're not going to get super lost, hopefully, if you can interpret the story. And like for me, that's why instead of like diving into something that like I'm gonna get lost in the weeds in this, because I don't have like unless I sit down and write basically a module out of what I've built, I could get easily lost. But like with a module, I got the guardrails. I can just sort of walk along them and let things just sort of progress and branch. And if we get to the end and we have more story to tell, then I'll branch out and be take the bumpers off.
Woo. What's the hardest thing about like trying to set up a new campaign?
I don't think I'm far enough in to say, to be honest.
What's the hardest thing so far?
I think it's just like it's a lot of stuff all at once, and you have to sort of break it down into steps. Otherwise, it's really overwhelming. That's for me has been what's the hardest. It's like there's so much to do. Where do I start?
Yeah, I hear that. There's just so many like different, like there's different levels of difficulties with things, and like each step of something of DMing, especially like in like just like Laura was saying, like trying to like I have this vomit like dream in my head. How do I put that in a coherent like idea and story? How does like making characters can sometimes be like difficult because you don't want to be tropey, but you don't want it to be like super like this like weird like asinine thing that's like no one's like, what's this supposed to be? Like, okay. And like setting expectations is really hard trying to do, like of like how you want your story to go, like how it's a lot of different parts and pieces that are like difficult for their own separate reasons. I would say probably, yeah, making the first step of trying to get it down and trying to get everything like the foundation work laid for that is probably the hardest part, because you don't have anything at that point. So like you kind of like need something to like even like critique or build on.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just separate things in each part of it that are just like they're difficult in their own right, and like have different intricacies in it because of that.
Yeah, I think the other thing though is that you're kind of like, when you're a player, you've got other people to rely on to help you like tell this story. When you're the DM, like you're gonna rely on your players to like pull the story along. But like when you're getting started, you're on your own. Like I know that I can like shoot a message to Serenity, or grab Chad at the dining room table, or shoot a message to Jake because he DMs for us, and be like, help. But like when it gets down to it, it's on me to get this together, because like nobody who's going to play in this game wants to be the one that has to like hold the DM's hand and know too much when the game starts.
What do you think about all the players are really holding your hand? Like a little circle.
In the end.
In the end. I think weirdly the hardest thing for me was figuring out how to write the notes. Because just figuring out, like, not the actual writing, because I had a lot of ideas, I knew how to put them on paper, but figuring out the template for it that I could reference during games, so I'd know where to find things and when forget things. And you know what? I never totally figured it out. I memorized most of my notes, like start to finish.
Yeah, that has been one of the hardest things. Like, I don't know how to write this shit down. Like, how am I going to reference this? It's just a paragraph. What does that mean?
Yeah, like I can't skim this whole paragraph while I'm trying to describe something to a player.
Yeah.
You can only multitask so much.
I've come to find out that too. Like I have like so many like separate things, like just different docs that are just like, this is an idea. I don't know if I'll use this idea, but this is an idea. And I think that's a lot of the times a difficulty for DMs too, is that you have so many ideas and you're like, they all feel important. And part of you wants to use every idea you ever come up with. And so there has to be like some sort of like realization that you need to like, some things are like just an idea. You can like expand an idea and see if that becomes something, but sometimes the idea just needs to let work still. So like you don't have to use all your ideas. It's fine to not use everything you put down. You can save it for another campaign, like, because it might fit better into something else. So like all your ideas don't need to be like crammed in there, because like they won't all fit necessarily.
Yeah, that whole million ideas and pick which ones you really want to use thing is really difficult. Like, it's fun for like lore building for an entire homebrew world, because then you can just like set up stuff and like, okay, well, these are hooks I can use later. But like when you've got like, this is the campaign, well, you might have 6 ideas and only like 2 of them actually fit.
Right.
Even though the other 4 are awesome and you really want to put somebody through this.
Maybe someday. Or maybe you'll figure out how to fit it in. Who knows? Lovely. So how do you know when you're finished prepping and you're ready to start? How do you know?
That is the trick. You're never finished prepping. You're never finished prepping. I have, to this day, I've had stuff that is I like made and like planned to do, and like in the moment was like, I'm not doing that. 86 is done. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna change it to something else. Like in the moment, on the fly, like I had a character plan to come and talk to someone, something happened. I was like, nope, I like this better, because in the moment it just feels like a right moment. So like you can prep all the things you want and then still again have that on the court decision, like, nah, this is gonna happen instead, because it just felt better. It felt like the way the characters were reacting to things just felt like a natural progression to it, even though like in my head I thought, oh, it was gonna go ABC, and instead it went ABD. And that's fine. That's still good, because like everyone still enjoyed it.
Yeah, very fluid medium.
Yeah, I think with like prepping for like your first bit, like for me running the module, I know I'll be done when I at least have a first session down, and I have all the characters and I know where they belong. and then I'll be ready to sit down and say, okay, well, let's roll some dice, because I'm one of those people that I can probably prep forever. And like at some point you have to just jump in and do. Otherwise the nerves are going to make you chicken out, and then this game is never going to happen, and then you're going to all be disappointed.
That'd be sad. So sad. Lovely. Okay, we're almost out of time. Do you guys have any like last advice for brand new DMs?
I would say just let loose. Just have what your notes, have your preparedness, all your plans and all that, but just let loose. Sort of like just feel it out. Just sort of go into the stupid, just go into all the zany weird stuff. Just sort of lean into it, because if you lean into it, more likely you're gonna have fun, and more likely your players are gonna have fun. And that's the big point of it. Like as long as you're and your players having fun, it doesn't really matter about the rules, the plans, all that other stuff. It just is you're having fun and everyone else has fun. That's the most important part.
Yeah, I think that's like really, really good advice. I think the other thing is, like, if you're going to do it, at some point you just have to get your feet wet. And once you get your feet wet and you ease yourself in, just go with it. Because like you can sit on the edge of the pool forever and be like, I'm gonna do this. But if you never jump in, it's never gonna get started. And like I know that this sounds dumb because I keep talking about having imposter syndrome, but at some point you have to just like let go and don't compare yourself to others. Like I know for a fact that I will not DM the same way any of the DMs that I play with do. And that's fine. And that's good. Be authentic. Be you, not the DM you play with on, maybe you've got 6 games. That's a lot. Now that I think about it, that's a game a day. But like maybe you're in like a couple of games. Don't try to be the DM that you play with when you're the player. Be you. Be yourself, because that's when your stuff is going to be the best. You can't be somebody else.
Yeah. My advice is don't worry. And it doesn't matter if your first session sucks, because I guarantee the players are going to be more excited about the new world that they're exploring than they are going to be paying attention to you. So you've got some leeway. You've got like maybe 5-6 sessions before people start getting bored. So you have time to get your shit together. It's okay. And with that is our time. Thank you guys for tuning in once again to the show on Tuesdays, which we do every Tuesday. Tune in on Friday to see what happens to Oriana in the gang in River Bend.
Does she get a tattoo in prison? We'll find out.
Does she get a prison tattoo? Does she get lots of prison tattoos? Does she run the place? Hopefully.
Practicing more leadership skills.
Oriana gets hard. Next episode, Oriana gets hard. Starts lifting weights. Gets super buff.
This is my jail.
Super swole Oriana. Oh my god.
Like a week later, and she's a completely different person. Lovely. Anyway, tune in Friday for that. Check out our Discord. We've got lots of memes and shit. Check out our Twitch backlog. Check out our YouTube. We've got all of our episodes of both our shows. Check out our Twitter. We've got news and stuff. Check out our Patreon. We've got some cool stuff up, which I can't really tell you about because you have to give us $1 if you want to see it. But it's very cool and it's worth $1.
And new stuff is going to come soon. We're working on it.
Yep, new stuff every month. And check out our store. We still got cool shirts and mugs and stuff that you can buy. Thank you to Sunbird and Lady Meows for doing our music and our title card. They're both very beautiful. And I hope you all have a great night. I hope you're either staying cool or warm or dry or not on fire, whatever's applicable for where you are. Bye.
Peace.